This is a video of a paddle on the Jordan River in Utah from Porter's Landing to Burnham Dam in North Salt Lake. It borders the Legacy Nature Preserve on River Right, which is a preserve of about 2,200 acres of wetlands and playa or irregular wetlands that were purchased and preserved by the state of Utah when the bordering Legacy Parkway State Highway was built in the 2000s. The reserve is closed to the public, but the Jordan River is still a public waterway. Porter's Landing in North Salt Lake is the last downstream public river access spot on the Jordan River, but the public water trail continues for another 3.6 miles to Burnham Dam. So if you want to paddle this river section, you usually have to do a 7.2-mile out and back paddle, with half of that being paddling upstream against the gentle current to get back to Porter's Landing. Because of that, the Jordan River Commission's online water trail map ranks this river section as an intermediate section. But if you do it on a paddle hosted by the Jordan River Commission...
So this section of river is really special for us to be able to do today. Normally, you would start here, paddle upstream, and then you'd have to paddle back whenever you wanted to. So we have special permission from the Legacy Nature Preserve to take out on their property, and so when you guys get out, we'll have our vehicles there. We'll transport everybody and their stuff back to here, and then you can go from here. So it's kind of nice that we have this special opportunity. A one-way float.
Thank you.
It's 3.5 miles. I think it'll, it's leisurely, but this water is a little bit slower through here, so you will need to kind of paddle yourself to keep moving and keep the group going so we don't get out too late. You want to add?
Some of you know that have been with us this month that we're highlighting an initiative that we launched a few years ago called Love Your Watershed. And it's to help people make the connection that every storm drain across the Wasatch Front is connected to the Jordan River. Some of our paddles, especially those closer to the bottom of the watershed, you see a lot of evidence of that. You see bottles and cups and straws and all kinds of stuff that gets washed into the river or a tributary when it rains or snows. We're going to see today a piece of infrastructure that was added, I believe in 2018, it may have been 2017 or 2018, when we get past the North Davis Water Reclamation Facility. That'll be the first feature we see after we go under the Center Street Bridge. About a half mile beyond that is what we call the trash boom at the Legacy Preserve. And it's some big kind of floating barriers that catch everything in the river that's floating or just under the surface. And Salt Lake County Health Department comes in, or flood control comes in periodically, probably weekly or so, especially after big storm events, and clears everything out that it catches. What that means is then when we get beyond the trash boom, you're going to see the river that's relatively clear. We don't have really any urban development beyond that. The east side of the river is a Legacy Nature Preserve. The west side of the river is all agricultural land. And so we're going to see a river that's much cleaner than probably much of what we've seen. There's still chemical pollutants and organic material and other things that get through the trash boom. But it really makes a big difference, and we'll probably notice that and observe it. So we may stop in those. There is a little bit of a kind of switchback that you have to do to get through the trash boom. There's two pieces that kind of overlap, so you have to go around the one on River Left and then circle back around the one that comes from River Right and kind of hooks. It's kind of a couple of J's that intersect, or that not quite intersect. So just be prepared for that. We might circle up there and just make sure everybody gets a chance to kind of observe that. Beyond that, we'll be paddling through an area that's really pristine. It's the least developed part of the Jordan River, and after we leave the trash boom, we really are in the shorelands of Great Salt Lake. During the big floods in the 1980s and even in 2011, a lot of this area was underwater as part of that floodplain when there's really heavy runoff. We didn't see quite as much of that this year as is 2011 or the 1980s. But it's a really critical part of the whole Great Salt Lake ecosystem. And I think we're right at the beginning of migratory season, so we might see some migratory birds coming through here. But the Legacy Nature Preserve is a really significant location for migratory birds. In the springtime, it's a place where one of the largest colonies of bald eagles nest. Some of you may have been to bald eagle days up in the Farmington Bay area, and this is part of that bald eagle habitat when they come down for nesting and raising their offspring in the late winter. And I don't think we'll see any right now because they're all up in the mountains, but this is a really great place that's really critical habitat for a lot of wildlife. It's also not unusual to see other kinds of wildlife, deer, pronghorns, and stuff like that. We might see some cattle. I didn't see any when we were on the preserve dropping off the shuttle vehicles, but the Nature Conservancy does use cattle to manage some of the weeds, Phragmites particularly, along the bank of the Jordan River. So we might see that. There's also, as I said, there's agricultural lands, and occasionally we'll see cattle there as well, and that's always kind of fun too. Thank you. Let's go ahead and launch and get on our way.
Here is Burnham Dam, which marks the end of the public Jordan River water trail. So this is where paddlers generally need to turn around and paddle back upstream to Porter's Landing. But since on this paddle the Jordan River Commission got special permission and the gate keys from the Legacy Nature Preserve to shuttle the paddlers and their boats back to Porter's Landing, today we will paddle into the private no trespassing canal near Burnham Dam that enters into the preserve to take out there and get a Jordan River Commission shuttle back to Porter's Landing.